Hi, this is Dr. Sam. Lost your job or fear of losing it to AI? Or are you completely new to IT? Do not worry anymore. Get into IT and make six-figure income. Learn AI, cloud, security, data analysis, BA, PO, PMP, Agile, DevOps.
Get trained, certified, work on real mock projects, get your resume ready, get your mock interviews done, get marketed, and get a job.
Work with Strategism. Call 408-372-7275 or visit www.strategisminc.com. Hey, it's Dr. Sam, and I want to invite you to be a part of my show, Tech Chai with Dr. Sam, where we chit-chat about the other side of technology, everything related to technology and a techie's life. So get your cup of chai and join me.
Every Tuesday 3:30 to 4 p.m. only on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM.
Jiye ja. Jiye ja.
Jiye ja. Jiye ja.
सलाम नमस्ते एंड वेलकम बैक टू टेक चाय. मैं हूं आपके साथ आपकी इश्की मिश्की होस्ट आरजे रॉश एंड लाइक एवरी वीक वी आर बैक अगेन इन द स्टूडियो. ट्यूसडे 3:30 PM को एयर होता है टेक चाय विद द वन एंड ओनली डॉक्टर सैम, who is the founder and president of Strategism.Inc. Every Tuesday we air at 3:30 PM only on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM GH. Strategism के बारे में मैं जितना भी कहूँ कम होगा, because it is a wonderful organization that's training people, mentoring people to get back into the workforce. So if you've been part of a recent workforce reduction, or you're straight out of college and you're looking for some real-time, real-world experience, then Strategism is going to be your best friend. The contact numbers are 408-372-7275. You can also email them at training@strategisminc.com. And also, you can read more about them from their website, which is www.strategisminc.com. And without further ado, Dr. Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. I can look at the sun 3 days, even if it was raining. But today the sun is telling us that, hey, it's a lot of excitement. And we have an exciting news.
We have an exciting news because we have a very exciting guest, our guest of honor for today, the most distinguished Professor Emeritus, the Dean Emeritus of SFBU. So, do you want to do the honors of welcoming Jim to our show, Dr. Sam?
Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Jim Connor.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. And I think it'll be an exciting half hour as we go through and touch on some really interesting topics.
Yeah, I'm so delighted to have you on the show. A little bit about Jim, friends. As you can see, he's a solutions architect, product strategy and management advising. He's been an instructor and a director at UC Berkeley. He works with innovative startups and helps them go to market strategies. He's been the dean of business school at SFBU earlier, and of course with California State University, Hayward. So we are very, very delighted to have him here on the show, and that's the reason I chose him to be the techie of the week, or somebody who's helping the techies, transform their careers and take them to the next level.
Awesome. Should we have the ceremonial drum roll for Jim? Here we go. Spotlight is on Jim Connor. Jim, do you prefer we call you Jim or Professor Dean Emeritus?
I think Jim is fine. We can keep it nice, friendly, and informal. Sure, why not?
Awesome. Jim, you will be happy to know that Dr. Sam, for all of these episodes that we've had, has never turned up in this kind of a formal attire. I mean, he's almost wearing a tux, and this is all for you. So you must be really, really special for him, is what I can say. Yeah. Dr. Sam is very special for us, so that makes you doubly special. So welcome to our show, Tech Chai.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Cool. So, Dr. Sam, जैसे कि आपने कहा कि you curate people from your from your network, from people you've worked with in the past, collaborated with in the past, learned, being mentored from. So, what is the one thing that you chose Jim to be the distinguished guest of today for?
I think he has a very unique blend of academia and practice, because a lot of people are either pure academicians, I struggle with that word, or on the other hand, they're pure practitioners. But I think a very healthy balance, a marriage between the two, what he brings to the table, and I have a tremendous respect for that.
So I kind of think of it as a three-way intersection. One of them is academics, the other one is business, and the third one is engineering, because I have both business degrees and engineering degrees and experience in academia.
Wow.
Amazing, amazing. You know, that's what I've seen, like even in our shows in the past, like people who have diverse backgrounds, right? Whether it is, diverse in terms of where they have, grown up in the world, but also diverse in terms of kind of education they have. They always like have this niche, right? Always have this unique, almost the cusp of these domains, kind of, and one thing plays into another, and the advice that you give, the things that you build, I think are just better and more complete, for lack of a better word. So, so Dr. Sam or Jim, either of you, right? There are a lot of trends going on in education these days, right? As with every decade, things change, or every half a decade. So, what do you think is going on with the soft versus hard skills balance in today's world?
Oh, that's a very good question. And obviously the soft skills are truly important. A lot of people who change jobs, you do that by interacting with other people. You've got the hiring process. In the education industry, it's going more soft skills at the undergraduate level, and they're spending more time on that, things including speech, debate, the HR functions and things like that. And there's been real evidence that shows a higher return on investment by doing that. However, it's a bit different at the graduate level. At the graduate level, you really need depth of expertise. So, you could call it a technical knowledge, but it's not necessarily technical in the terms of STEM. It's rather the ability to deal with complexity and the depth of the expertise.
And the domain specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you take a look at that, if you're into graduate school, definitely take a look at the hard skills so you can gain the competitive advantage.
So to me, that sounds like some folks who are on the show right now and are studying at the undergraduate level, they should probably focus on building their soft skills. And I struggle a lot with this because I see a lot of these folks are so much embedded into the computers and phones that they're not able to develop and evolve their interpersonal skills and be able to communicate effectively in a social setting. Versus somebody who's at a graduate level has already worked for a few years, some deep, hard technical knowledge could be of more value.
So I tend to put it two ways. First of all, you never want to get stage fright in front of your boss and your coworkers. That's just embarrassing. The other thing is, of course, that let's suppose you're an engineer and you have an idea and you think it should be implemented with approach X instead of approach Y. And the other engineer, who you may not always appreciate, always says, no, it's got to be Y. You really do, in that conference room, need to give a compelling argument, a case, if you will, why your approach is better than the other fellow's approach. And if you're successful at doing that, more likely than not, over time, you will raise through the ranks.
Yeah. May I offer one little tidbit that I've learned along with this is like, because I face these situations a lot, right, at work, like approach X versus approach Y. So one thing is, of course, why I think it is better. And the second thing is what measures or what metrics can be used to determine success. So if I know, along with my approach, if I also present, ABC metrics, that this is, let's say, if we go with approach X, we are going to get 50% less customer support cases, or we are going to make this 70% more performant. So I think that always helps. But yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Continuing with the emerging trends in education, Jim and Dr. Sam, what is really going on with microlearning? That's a buzzword that's very much heard these days. So what's up with that?
So a lot of things are going on with microlearning. In fact, I think if you were to go to the university level 15 years from now and look back, you would see that it's not really going to be the same. So microlearning has the nanoscience in it of how do people think, how do they learn, and everybody has a different mind. How do you actually get there, okay? And it turns out it's individualized learning, frequently in smaller bite-sized chunks rather than sitting there for 6 hours listening to a boring lecture and falling asleep in it. So it's highly interactive. I'll call it high touch just for this show here. We're going to get rid of the academic terms. We'll call it high touch, small bite learning, small group learning. And it's coupled with AI now because that gives you the speed and the low cost to individualize the curriculum and the learning experience. And then you just simply learn it better. So the craft of teaching is becoming better, and it's helping learners to learn better, if that makes sense.
Sounds like, learning in small bits and pieces through pictures, computer vision or text or, whichever form it may be, but breaking down learning of big chunks into small pieces.
Yeah, or even case studies, right? Which, these days AI is so powerful. You can almost like give it, almost you can give it your curriculum that you were traditionally probably, teaching, and then you tell AI, build a case around it or write a case around it, and it would do that for you.
It will do a good job hallucinating, yes. but it doesn't actually help the learning process unless you do it yourself.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I would like to point out about this high-touch style of curriculum and curriculum design. If you're a professional, a working professional, an adult learner, and you notice this in a university's curriculum in the program that you want to apply for, think twice. It may not be for you. And the reason for that is it puts a lot of again, this is a professional student, worker. It puts a tremendous amount of stress on the life, work, and learning balance. Because it's so high touch, they might want to meet with you 2 or 3 times a week, and your employer may not have, let's say, an appreciation for that. So do be careful that you don't accidentally go for a high touch curriculum if you're a low touch lifestyle.
Makes sense, definitely, yeah. Dr. Sam, would you want to add anything more to that before we
No, I
move
think
on?
that's a great thing, and I would also like to hear often when I talk to Jim, he mentions this pyramid, and I want to talk more about that because right now the biggest challenge our listeners are facing in the Silicon Valley is a lot of them are losing jobs, and the job market is very tough.
Very tough.
So how do you find a job in the current market, and share with our listeners your philosophy around this, Apple and the pyramid that you talk about?
So I frequently get students who are near graduation or graduating, in a term or two, and they're like, how do I find a job, right? And it really gets down to a pyramid. So if you think at the top of the pyramid, there might be a company. In this case, we'll just use Apple because everybody knows who they are. And if you look down the supply chain, it gets wider and wider as you get further down.
Yeah.
So if you want this is advice to all you out there listening to the program today. If you're looking for the highest pay, you want the job at the highest level, meaning closest to the paying customer. If you're looking for the fastest way to get a job, you want to look lower in the supply chain. First of all, there are more openings because there's more companies lower in the supply chain. And second of all, a lot of international students just for some reason forget about the supply chain. They don't even know who they are. You might see as a consumer an ad for Apple, but when you look at all the supply chain, nobody understands. If you look at Netflix, people say, oh, it's a movie company, but how many engineers do they hire? Very, very few.
Yeah.
But they outsource a lot. So they have so many data centers and programmers all over the place, but they themselves are more into the content licensing and the billing and the shop, but not actually all the gears that make those servers work. So those are kind of where you want to look. And then the other thing about the paycheck, just to counterbalance what I just said about the velocity of finding a job, if you think that Apple gets 100% of the revenue from that sale, that's because they do. But their board supplier, the chip supplier, maybe they only get 80%. And then underneath that, maybe the plastic supplier only gets 80% of the 80% of whatever. So the lower you go down in the supply chain, the less absolute total number of dollars there are, therefore the paycheck will be lower.
Yeah.
So I would say optimize both at the same time. Make sure that you actually figure out the supply chain. And they're not going to advertise in the retail market. You got to go find them. Do most of your resumes there because you're going to get a higher velocity of finding a job. But also continue to send it to the high brand names, and maybe you'll get lucky and get the higher paycheck.
That's
a good point, right?
Good
That, you
point,
know,
and that's such a good, simple but good structure to remember. Because we often forget, right, when we are especially like looking for the next opportunity, and especially people who are caught in this, workforce reduction consequence and all of that. I don't think they are thinking so clearly. They're like just randomly applying to a bunch of positions, whether in LinkedIn or any of the job sites. But I think it would save them a lot of wasted effort if they figure out the pyramid for that particular job or for that particular company and apply more strategically. Strategism.inc. Okay.
strategic intent.
Strategic intent. So Jim, this thing about using sector rotation to find a job, it seems to be very unique to you, and Dr. Sam has specifically, thought of touching upon that. Do you want to educate our listeners about that?
One does not randomly look for a job if you want to find a job. You should hunt it down and get it. Now, if you're going to hunt a job, the question is, where do you look? And sector rotation has been going on forever. So in the old days of computer science, people learned how to manually code machine code. Well, that kind of phased out. Then they all started learning, Python and C and so forth. And that era of manual coding in C is also phasing out. And it will be replaced by something different. What might be a good, healthy sector? There are plenty of sectors out there, but one I think would be of most interest to people is the one that's really hot at the moment, and that is defense and dual-use industries. So, simplistically put, the Ukraine war showed that all the old military equipment is obsolete. Everybody wants to do drones against tanks, things like that. So every country, Germany has just spent a whole lot of money on their budget to do it. Korea has just spent a bunch of money. Even Japan has recently been poking a little bit at China on their military and the spending. So military spending is really dramatic, okay? Mm-hmm. And that also includes dual use, such as visual analytics. So as you have a drone that's getting jammed, because obviously you haven't yet hired that new software guy to make the encrypted GPS signal, but that's a job opening, right?
Yeah, right there.
Anti-jamming, counter-jamming, and jamming detection. That's all wide open, and they're spending billions on that stuff right now. But also the synthesis of the classic photography maps, which can now fit on a flash, along with an internal gyroscope, so you've got the gyroscope tracking, and with the encrypted GPS. You put all that together, and now you can have your autonomous torpedo, your autonomous submarine, your autonomous rocket, and they're even doing it with, let's say, simple things like artillery shells.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. And that tells me that, hey, listeners, those of you who heard Jim, the thought is that if you just lost your job or you're struggling with your current job and you have this fear, military is one sector, and some of the companies that come to the top of my mind right now, Palantir is one of them, Anduril, and there are many other companies who are looking for people who have these skills of, drone technology and GPS and gyroscope.
Absolutely.
So learn all this, and this is the time for us to reinvent ourselves in a new role, especially in the military spending. The current government has a big focus on that, and they have people who are from the business side in the administration. So I see a lot of money, hundreds of billions of dollars going in that direction in next few years.
Okay, two unpopular questions. One is, do these jobs individually pay well? I know there's a lot of billions being pumped into the overall programs. Do they individually pay well? And secondly, I believe for military, because our listener base is very wide, right? It has citizens, it has immigrants, it has, and everything else in between. So I think some of these jobs, defense, military, are secured for only people with American citizenship and not really open to people that don't have it.
So that's why I mentioned dual use. So pretty much you can use the word analytics in your job search. So not only do you have financial analytics, business analytics, business intelligence, you've got the visual analytics, which I just described, but there's also behavioral analytics. You know, who's a bad guy, who's a good guy, who's stealing from your store, who is not stealing from your store, and how do you help, police and things like that. So pretty much everywhere there's a military application, there's a dual-use civilian app for the technology as well.
Awesome.
And I think that you had two questions. One, do they pay well? I think they're paying extremely well. And second, do people who do not have citizenship or green card, a lot of immigrants from India, can they work, especially on the software engineering side of it, and the GPS technology or drone technology? The word technology, the moment you say, even the companies like Northrop Grumman or Lockheed or L3 Technologies, all these companies have a sizable proportion of the population of engineers who are not of the American origin. So I think they're pretty open in that piece, even though they might require some kind of special vetting in terms of the background and the criminality piece of it. But other than that, I think they're pretty open on the technology side.
Awesome. That's definitely very informational. We're down to the last 5 minutes, the very last segment of our show.
So soon, I've enjoyed the program.
I know, me too. It always feels like that when you have a good speaker and a good conversationalist. Let's get in the last segment very, very grassroots, so to speak. Of course, there's this AI wave, right? So let's talk a little bit about what the next alternative is in AI-based jobs. And a lot of people are looking to pivot, including me, pivot formally, right? Of course, I do have AI usage, agentic AI coming more and more, but I personally want to completely pivot to AI, and I know there are a lot more people doing that who have been part of the workforce reduction or otherwise. And if that's the case, what would be the best age to get another university degree, or is there an age, and how would they go about wisely selecting a university?
Wow, 3 questions all at once, and we only got 5 minutes. I'll have to hurry. The simple answer for the university degree is the younger and the sooner the better, for 2 main reasons. First of all, you get to the higher paying paycheck sooner. And that'll add up over many years and increase your lifetime wealth. And the other thing is it reduces your opportunity costs overall, so go for it. I think you had another question about how to wisely select for a university. And you can either do it for your own personal knowledge, but don't expect anybody to pay for that. You can do it for your current employer, and my rule of thumb is if the current employer won't even give you flex time to do it, they certainly won't give you the pay raise after. So check that out. Make sure you understand what ground you're really on with your boss's boss, and the HR. The next step is your future employer. And for that, you need 5 years out. I'll talk on that in just a moment. And then the last one is take the easiest degree you can get. And the reason for that is it's just a checklist if you're already successful. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have a company and you're making a few $1,000,000 a year, the degree will just put a stamp of approval on that. It helps to make the bankers and business people feel more comfortable that you're an intelligent person. Now, going back to what I just said a moment ago about thinking 5 years out, this was also true for the next, what's alternative in AI that you asked about. And the question is, what's going to be here 5 years from now? So think in terms of sector rotation, not today's jobs. So, all right, think one level up. Now, today, everybody is spending trillions of dollars on centralized data servers. And it's very concentrated, and a few large companies are going to rule the world, and it's going to be evil. Ooh, maybe not. But anyway, what's the opposite of that? Well, distributed. Correct, Sam. You totally got it right. So if you think in terms of Windows, that's a consolidated software run by a corporation, and they own it, and that's that. But if you think about Unix and Linux, blockchain and these other things, they're quite distributed. Now, today, if you even have a regular laptop, You can buy one with a CPU plus NPU, and it can now do some native AI on that laptop. Gaming rigs can do it. So just as blockchain has become distributed and kind of like all those Unix apps and everything else that glue tremendous amount of behind the scenes stuff together, distributed AI is just starting. People are trying to figure out how to get the protocols so the various AI agents and so forth talk to each other and how do they talk to the big learning in the background. So the work at home movement can, in the future, participate in AI using all the NPUs in their gaming rigs and laptops.
Wow.
So all these new apps, new software, new protocols, for the next 5 to 10 years, it's a wide open market, in my opinion, and I think it will continue to be high growth. But it's just that most people are not thinking of that sector, the distributed. They tend to focus on concentrated big data centers at the moment.
Most people are not thinking at all. I would even make it more generic, like me, and I'm like thinking, oh, I need a new job. That's all I'm thinking. I'm not, thinking of data and strategy and information because there's so much already here. Okay, so very last finale, again, we're going to group some questions together. It's a little bit of a fun segment. We see a lot of students taking 5 years to complete a 4-year undergraduate degree, some taking 3 years to complete a 2-year master's degree. Do you think that is wise, or,
No, it's absolutely terrible. And it's extraordinarily expensive to waste a year out of your life because you did not graduate on time. And there are generally 2 or 3 things that cause that. First and foremost is they don't actually look at the accreditor's document that is for the degree program they signed up to. I'm not talking about a website. A lot of the university software has some errors in it, it's slightly out of date. And I'm certainly not talking about a marketing brochure. I mean, go down to your department, get the real approval document, the words that were submitted to the accreditor. In there, you will find the degree requirements. Don't do one thing more. Start going through the required first, not your electives. The electives should be put at the end for scheduling flexibility when you can't quite get the course that you need when you need it. And every year, whether you talk to the registrar or, let's say, the dean in that department or somebody, go through, do an audit, make sure that you're compliant. You don't want to find out at the end, and then the other thing that I would recommend people do, other than avoiding mistakes, quite frankly, is to take an extra course. Almost all academic advisors give you the minimum, the bare minimum, and it'll stretch you as tight as a guitar string, and then you miss it. If you take an extra course as you go along, then if you wind up with course congestion or a particular course is not offered when you need it, you will have some margin to maneuver.
Makes sense. Strategy there again. And we are at time. Some parting thoughts from you, Dean Jim Connor and Dr. Sam. I think if you want to touch about why younger first-year students are constantly running out of money, or what their realistic options are for choosing a research topic, maybe one from each of you.
Right now, I think, Jim, the thing is a lot of people who are international students here, right? They have a lot of expenses, they take loans, so they run out of money. And another thing that I was hearing you talk about, the length of study duration, they are actually in their minds calculating. And I was talking to somebody the other day, he said, I'm calculating if the current administration is there for 3 years, when should I focus on getting an H-1B visa so that, that $100,000 doesn't apply. So they're trying to time their education and increase the study time so they don't have to deal with H-1 or OPT. So there are a lot of factors going on, and that's why they're running out of money, because they're extending their stay in the universities. This is my 2 cents.
Yeah, one easy way to extend your study in university, if you need a quick and easy way to do it, is to forget to take one required course. And then when they go to do the audit at the end, the registrar will say, oh, you can't graduate. Legitimately,
yeah.
And therefore, you can take the one course and you buy yourself one extra term.
Awesome. That's a really cool strategy for first-year students, legitimately forgetting to take a course. Thank you so much, Jim. We'll see our listeners once again next Tuesday.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Jim.
So much. Thank you, Jim, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.